The desert sun was a white-hot coin nailed to a bleached sky. Below, the dunes rippled in a haze, a furnace of sand and silence broken only by the groan of shifting grains. It was here, in the scorch, that the man found her. His name was Leo, a prospector of the old school, following mineral whispers with a patched-up skimmer and a stubborn will. The war between the Galactic Compact and the Shroud Hive was a distant thunder, a conflict for stars he'd never see. His concerns were water, fuel, and the next score. So when his scanner pinged with debris signatures, he altered his route, hoping for salvage. What he found was a catastrophe. A sleek hive dropship, its organic curves shattered and blackened, lay half buried in a dune. The sand around it was fused to glass, and the air carried the sharp scent of ozone and something else, a fragrant, spicy musk. Among the wreckage, movement. Not the skittering of lesser drones, but a slow, pained shift of something larger. Leo approached, rifle in hand but held low. She was pinned under a twisted spar of chitinous hull plating. Her form was humanoid, but elongated, elegant even in ruin. Her skin was the color of polished amethyst, and a diaphanous membrane, torn and dusty, spanned from her wrists to her hips. Her eyes, large and luminous, were the gold of ancient coins. They tracked him without fear, only a profound regal exhaustion. She was a Shroud Hive queen, a very embodiment of the enemy. And she was dying. He should have left. He should have radioed the Compact for a bounty. He did neither. He looked into those golden eyes and saw no monster, only a living being in agony. With a grunt, he set his rifle down and dug. It took an hour to free her. One of her legs was bent at a terrible angle, and a deep wound in her side seeped iridescent fluid. She did not speak his language, but when he offered water from his canteen, she drank, her long fingers trembling around the metal. Her gaze never left his face. Leo knew he could not carry her to his skimmer. The sand was too soft, the distance too great. He had a foldable sled in his cargo, used for hauling ore. He fetched it, laid out his spare blanket, and with immense care lifted her onto it. She weighed less than he expected. He rigged a harness from utility straps and slung it over his shoulders. He would have to pull her. 90 miles to the fringe outpost at Dusthaven. And so the march began. Man and alien, under the murderous sun. Leo walked. He put one worn boot in front of the other, the sled's runners hissing through the sand. He rationed his water, giving her the larger share. At night, when the cold bit deep, he used his survival heater and positioned himself between her and the wind. He tended her wound as best he could with basic med gel, the iridescent seep slowly lessening. They did not speak, but communication grew. A pointing finger toward a looming dune, a soft click of her tongue in warning of unstable ground. He learned her name, or the concept of it, a vibration in his mind that felt like stillness before storm. In return, she picked his name from his thoughts. Leo. The desert tested them. A sandstorm rose on the third day, a wall of screaming grit. Leo secured the sled, covered her with all the fabric he had, and lay over her, his body a shield against the scouring blast. When it passed, he was raw and bleeding from 1,000 tiny cuts. But her eyes, watching him from the blanket's fold, held a new, unreadable intensity. On the 5th day, with water critically low, they found a canyon with shade. As Leo set up a solar still, she motioned him close. Her hand, cool and long-fingered, touched his sun-blistered forehead. A wave of cool clarity washed through him, not erasing the thirst, but distancing its torment. It was a gift, and it cost her. She slumped back, weakened. Why? He rasped, the first word he had spoken in days. Why do this for me? Her voice formed in his mind, delicate as a whisper. You ask the universe for why, when your own actions ask it not. You carried. You shielded. You shared your water. These are answers, not questions. The final miles were a haze of pain and determination. Leo's world shrank to the next step, the next breath. He talked then, to stay conscious. He told her of the green hills of a world he hadn't seen in a decade, of the simple weight of a good tool in his hand, of the silence of space that was not lonely, but full of potential. She listened, her golden eyes a constant anchor, when the faded communications tower of Dusthaven appeared on the horizon, a speck against the copper sky. Leo did not feel triumph. He felt a strange, hollow loss. The outpost meant compact jurisdiction. It meant separation. He staggered into the outskirts, pulling his precious cargo. Alarms sounded. Compact soldiers in gray armor poured out, weapons raised. They saw the Shroud Queen on the sled, and their rifles snapped up, targeting her. Leo, with a strength he did not know he had, moved. He placed himself squarely between the muzzles and the injured alien. Stand down. His voice was a cracked whip. She is injured. She is under my protection. A stunned lieutenant approached. Prospector, that is a hive queen. Step aside. No. The standoff lasted a tense minute before a medical officer pushed through. Sir, by the Compact's own laws of wartime mercy, if a combatant is brought in unarmed and injured by a civilian, they are entitled to care before internment. The officer looked at Leo, then at the Queen, who met his gaze with serene authority. We will treat her, but she will be detained. Leo was forced to relent. As medics transferred her to a hover gurney, her mind touched his one last time. Thank you, Leo. The desert is in your soul now. I will remember. He was debriefed, praised as a humanitarian, and largely forgotten. The war moved on. Dusthaven buzzed with the news of the captured queen, a major intelligence prize. Leo tried to visit her in the detention wing, but was denied. After a week, restless and empty, he began repairing his skimmer, ready to return to the lonely Scorch. He was sealing a fuel line when a shadow fell over him. Not a soldier, but a compact diplomatic envoy, looking profoundly uncomfortable. Behind him stood two towering hive emissaries, their carapaces gleaming like oiled stone. Prospector Leo? The envoy began, fiddling with a data slate. A situation has arisen. The Shroud Hive contingent has entered into negotiations. Paramount to their turns is a personal matter. One of the Hive emissaries stepped forward. Its voice was a deep, resonant hum. The one who is stillness before storm, Queen of the Crimson Dune Sept, has spoken. Her life debt is absolute. The act of carrying, of shielding, of sharing water in the sterile place is the highest covenant. She has invoked the right of foundation. Leo wiped grease from his hands. What's that? The envoy cleared his throat, his face pale. It's a matrimonial protocol, a binding alliance. She has formally and irrevocably requested to marry you. The world seemed to tilt. Marry me? The hive does not use the term lightly, the emissary hummed. It is a merger of fates, a sharing of purpose. You carried her not as a prize, but as a person. You offered your last water. You bore the storm. In her culture, these are the foundations upon which a dynasty is built. She offers you a place at her side, not as a consort, but as a partner, a co-ruler. Leo thought of the desert, the shared silence, the cool touch on his brow. He thought of the green hills he missed and the vast, silent potential of the stars. He had saved a life, and in doing so, had stepped into a story far larger than any prospector's tale. The envoy sputtered about diplomatic implications, about treaties and political upheaval. Leo barely heard him. He looked past the officials, toward the detention block, and in his mind, he felt a familiar, waiting presence. A stillness. A calm before a storm of change. He nodded slowly, a smile touching his cracked lips. "Tell her," he said. "I accept."